Good morning, folks. Sunday morning. And we're going to do a little bit of painting. Haven't gotten a chance to do some in a week. So where we left off last time was on our Hungarian command stand here. And this is as far as we got. We mounted the figures on there and did the basing, the gooping as I like to call it. So let's go through the process that if you've watched any of my videos, you know how it goes. So if not, here goes. All right, so we're going to grab the usual suspects. Those are come on, so many browns that look the same. From the end, chocolate brown, and I know exactly what color it is. Just need to find her. Nope, close but no cigar. It's this one. U.S. Field Drab. And is it this one? Nope, it's not that one. It's its cousin that looks almost the same. It's the Iraqi Sand. Can't tell I've used it so much. Worn off the Iraqi Sand written on it. So that's the three colors I use for my temperate based armies. And yeah, let's get to it. Now, I don't want, I guess I could probably use the, I don't want to dry brush all the stuff on here and then have to look at it later because this one's still in good shape. So let's go ahead and use this here. And this thing hasn't been opened in a week, and it's still plenty moist. So let's make sure this is on and this is on, and okay, we're good to go. Let's get some of this chocolate brown on here. Let's find us a spot down here. And a brush that we do not love so much. But still has a point on it because we need to get in between these horses' legs here. All right, let's go in and get the details here. We're probably gonna have to water this down a tiny little bit so we can get in there. I think I mentioned in the video the other day, I forgot to paint the underneath the horse legs before I mounted these guys on here. It makes this little process a little easier to get in between here. But I've done many of armies before. I realized that was the way to do it. So it is not an issue. We're just going to go in and get the little detail spots here. The stuff that we don't want to use the bigger brush and end up covering up what we've already done. Somebody's already on, already gave me a like, thank you. No doubt a subscriber, there's no way you would have known that quickly. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a good time working on your hobby as well. Happy Sunday. Let's get the other guy on the end. For those of you who do not know how this works, I can tell when somebody's online, but I can't tell who it is. So if you want to remain anonymous, that's cool. If you want to give a shout out, that's good too. I'm just Like I've mentioned this before, this is something I do for myself that keeps me on track. Maybe someone will find some interest in it. But just filming my process allows me to not get off task every 10 minutes or 15 minutes and find something new to have in the background. This is, I'm a lot more productive this way. Oh, this guy's easy in between the legs because the front ones are lifted up off the ground. So the day that I sprayed these guys last week for sealant, once again, I had no issue with frosting. I'm not sure what's causing the issue that other people have with frosting, but it was relatively a cold day. So I have a feeling people are either using a spray can that is not of a good quality, which I've done before, not in clear, but I've done that in black. I've had bad issues with it, or spraying it too close, or one thing I mentioned, and I'm thinking it's probably an issue with it, is that if you're spraying outside, hopefully, and because you don't want these fumes somewhere, that you're in all the time, but if you're spraying outside, do you bring your spray can back inside in your paint area when you're done? So in other words, you take your can here, you go outside, say to the garage, spray, and then bring the can back in. If you do that, the temperature in the can is changing, or it's a different temperature in the can when it's in here, and then when you go outside, it changes temperature rapidly when it comes out of the actual spray can, and that may be causing it as well. I happen to keep my can out there, so it's always the temperature I'm spraying in. I didn't make a conscious effort of doing that. I'm just kind of trying to wrap my head around why it's happening to so many people. And that's my public service announcement. I'm trying to figure out why the rest of you are having issues with that, but I don't know. Maybe it might be something to consider if you're having that issue, and maybe try keeping the spray can at the same temperature you're spraying in. In other words, don't bring it into a different temperature. I don't. I've never had it happen to me before, and I've been spraying miniatures. Well, not always, because I used to not seal my things, believe it or not. But that was, I'd say, probably 25 years I've been sealing them now, and I've never had that issue. So I'm not sure what it is. And not many people paint in a more wet environment than I'm in normally. I mean, it's even been raining outside the garage, and obviously the garage has been open so the fumes can dissipate and still have no issues with frosting. So I'm not sure what it is. So I didn't really make a conscious effort of leaving the cans out there. It just didn't seem like it was worth it to bring them back in. I got my little hobby station out in the garage, so just something to think about if you guys are having that issue. So now we're just going to cover everything else with this chocolate brown covering. Don't really need to use the wet palette to put this brown down, but it does help it keep from drying out before I put it on again. So, and these little rocks are actual piece of granite. We're going to leave them the color that they are. We'll dry brush them a little bit with not this coat, but the next two, just to kind of get them to blend in a little bit. Make them look like they got dusty in the same ground. If you guys use me as a backdrop while you're doing painting and you're wondering why I didn't go online yesterday, I was out of town. So there was no hour and 10 minute, hour and 15-minute Saturday painting session like there normally is. So we should be on here for a couple hours. So that's the plan anyways. This is the big chunk of time where we get it all done. Because painting in the middle of the week is very, you can't count on it. You just never know. Should be back to doing game day on tomorrow, on Monday. So we should have some kind of a video. Don't know what it is. Don't know if it's going to be live. If it's DBA related, it will probably not be live. So you guys will be able to see it in a little bit better detail. I'd rather do it live because it's no editing on my part. However, the picture quality just isn't there. It maxes out at 720. So try to save that for when there's just too many people involved in it to really do it in a individual video setting. One of these days, live feed will be able to do 10. We'll be able to do 1080. I'm not sure how long that'll take. It's not up to me. It's up to the YouTube gods to allow mobile streaming at a level higher than 720. It's not a camera issue. I can film in 8K on my phone. It's a YouTube issue. So we will see. And one thing we don't want to forget is we want to make sure that we paint the edges of the stand in this color just to kind of serve as a base for the black that I'm going to do. I happen to like the edge of my stands in black. I used to leave them in this color, dark brown, which worked great until I saw someone do it in black and I liked it better. So I'm slowly changing my armies over to black. All the new armies have been in black, and any that I've had to retrofit, like my French ordnance and likewise to switch them over to the black edges. Happen to like it better. Makes them pop. I'm not building dioramas, they're just plain pieces. So let's put a little bit more of this down here. But will Monday's game involve rutabagas? Okay, you win. You're the first one to mention rutabaga this week. Probably. The question is, will Mitch be the first one to mention it? He's been falling behind lately. My buddy Joe just finished an army. He finished his Eastern Franks or Etonians, and he will not be able to make it, he said. Otherwise, we'd be playing through the enemies of his army. We probably would have done that. So we will expect that in the future. We'll probably do that when he can make it with his army, maybe the following week or something like that. So Eastern Franks, I believe, is book 353. Just got them complete in the last week or so. Not sure what we'll do. To be continued. Usually the decision doesn't get made until sometime tomorrow. Let's get on the other side of this rock. People think basing is really easy, and it takes time. You want things to turn out okay. You can't just rush at the end. You don't want to spend a lot of effort painting these figures, basing them on here, and then throwing the basing together, and it just wastes all the effort that you've done throughout the rest of the process. So I did one, I don't remember which army it was, but I based the entire army at the end. And after the basing was done and I just needed to paint the basting one army took all day. I mean, literally, it took many, many hours. So, making sure we didn't miss a spot. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell because of how wet some of the paint is. And here we go. There's a spot down here. Again, you don't want to use this. You don't want to use your best brushes for this. You also don't want to use one that they're so crummy that you end up getting this brown paint all over the horse's legs. So, good morning, Kevin. Man, you're up early. Okay. That looks about done. Now, the process that I hate the most about all of this is now I can't do the dry brush on the next level up because it's too wet and it'll blend the colors together. Well, I could, but you're going to lose that contrast. So we're going to set this guy off to the side and take a look at a few things for maybe 10 minutes or so. Have a sip of coffee. Been watching the Aliens game. Well, it's not my Aliens game. I just happen to play in it. And I do that because I don't mind playing other things. I'm just not going to be the point man on rules. So I just showed up and it's not that I don't want to play by the rules. I don't want to read through a rule book. This little purple covered book has kind of ruined me of that. I'm burned out on looking things up. So that's Scott's game. Yeah, we had a good time with that. Yeah. So this is my 20 millimeter figure that I last week we ended up putting the flat coat on, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the goop on him. Oh, I can't do that. That's right. I got to make a new nameplate for him, and I didn't print out the nameplates for him yet. So, so much for that. I guess I could coat the rest of these guys. And let me just do. I just want to do one guy. Let's take a look at where we left off the next guys, which are the archers. Okay, these are the Hungarian archers. I've got two of the six done, and I started working on this other one. So let's go ahead and continue working on this guy. Maybe we can get a face in there or something like that here while we're waiting for the other thing to dry. I always try to stay productive if I can. All right, so let's go get me a brush that is good for facials. It's not bad. And I had one time, maybe a couple of years ago, I actually threw away a bunch of brushes that were in really bad shape. I mean, stuff like this. You know, I had a pile of them. I don't think I'd thrown away a brush in 5 years. So these two brushes should do fine. All right. Now, do we still have the face blend? Well, here's the two colors. And let's put them back on, because as soon as we're done with this stem, we're going to roll back into these archers. So once these two stands of archers are done, technically I could play this army. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to wait until, the war wagons are done and so forth. So, and then who knows what we'll do next. But I've had a hankering to work on some of my World War II stuff. The problem with that is that I know I'm not going to use it anytime soon. It would just be to do it. We'll see if I can resist that temptation. It's not like I've got to go out and buy any stuff. I got plenty of it as it is. Let's see how this thinner's working. If it is, it's alive. Whichever one of you guys gave me an idea to put this in a contact lens case, you can pat yourself on the back and tell your wife that, see, you did have a good idea after all. It's worked out great. So I'm not sure who it was, but I know it was recommended by someone. So worked out great. I wasn't using much of this thinner to begin with. Now the fact that it's not really evaporating in between uses means I may never have to buy any more. Like some of these paint colors, I use so little of it, I'll probably never have to buy them again. And then some like the chocolate brown I use quite a bit, so it all balances out. I want to actually check and see that I don't have a brush. It's a little bit more precise than this one. They wear out as things go. It happens. And you try to clean them, and it makes a little bit of a difference for a while. And then that may have been the most precise one I was working on. I have other ones. This one might be a little bit better. Don't be deceived by the size of the brush. It's actually the tip that matters. Sometimes actually a brush that's bigger is better because it'll hold more paint. More isn't better, but sometimes it is. By the time we're done with this guy's face, we'll be able to switch back to where we were. Guy's a jester looking face. The face of someone that belongs on a circus. Whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. It doesn't look like somebody you'd see on the street. I just put spit on them to keep them sharp when not using. Yeah, that works. A face suited to a radio show. There you go. As my dad would say in Spanish, una cara que no se usa, which means a face that does not get used. So in other words, a face that's out of style, maybe. My apologies if you look like this guy. Not knocking the sculpting. This is much better than I would be able to do. I am not a sculptor. I just paint by numbers without numbers. That's all we're doing here. You're painting by numbers and you're making your numbers up as you go. Yeah, so I've had a hankering to build one of my tanks, which I have lots of kits of, and paint it up, but that's just going to distract me from doing this. So I think that if I do that, it won't be until my Hungarians are done. They maybe will take a little side job working on some vehicles. But I was watching a video of there's so many people that are just incredible at what they do, and on YouTube of how to do vehicles, and one of them in particular, all these guys that are modelers, they'll do stuff that, as I like to say, it looks better than the real one. If you put the real vehicle next to it, it looks like crap, you know? You know what I'm talking about. You've seen it. This particular modeler was an excellent painter. And I watched a video, I'm subscribed to his channel. And he mentioned in the video that he was going to try his first crack at a figure. He'd been painting for umpteen years and never painted a figure, and he was really scared of it. And he showed how he painted a figure, and I thought that was humorous because I'm kind of on the opposite thing. I have painted vehicles, but I've painted vehicles so long ago that I'm not I'm out of practice, and I don't use an airbrush. And I'm thinking at some point I may get one. Um, I just I just don't think I need one, and I don't think I'm gonna get my use out of it. I don't think I'd use an airbrush for any of this stuff here. So, but anyhow, I thought it was humorous that this person who had painted vehicles and is a master vehicle painter was worried about figures. Like kind of the opposite way. I'd be afraid of the vehicles, not the vehicle itself, but and not the shading on the vehicle, just the weathering. You know, at what point it's just going to take practice that you know when to stop, and if you keep going and adding more, it's just going to make it worse. But one gripe that I have about people that do, remember, I wouldn't be building a model for model purposes. I'd be building it for war game purposes. So even though you can do realistic things, I wouldn't be so worried about it being ultra realistic. I've seen wargaming models being painted to diorama type levels, and I don't like the look for me. I like like I'll admit the figures that I paint look graphic novelish, comic book like, and I like that for the wargaming figures. They can be realistic colors, realistic patterns, and all that stuff, but they are stylized a little bit, and I like that. And I would want my vehicles to look the same way. I know several modelers that have wargaming figures that look like this, and then the models look ultra realistic, and it's not a look I prefer. Like if you're doing figures that have like black lining and stuff in between them, then the vehicles I think should also have the black lining and the stuff, in my opinion, for what I would like. People can do whatever they want, but I'm just saying, that's what I would want. So I'm not really interested in putting like heavy mud and stuff on the vehicles. They can be like weathered, but not super heavy muddy and stuff like that to where they would look ultra realistic, because my figures don't have mud caked on the bottom of their shoes and stuff like that. So I don't think it's something I wouldn't be able to handle. The only reason to do the airbrush would be to do the thing that people are doing these days that's called I can't think of what it is, but is it zethanol or something like that, where they're like spraying it from above and it kind of shades from one color to another with the airbrush, and then you go back about your business and painting everything else. But I don't know. I may do them. I'm not scared of doing it without the with that kind of stuff. I don't want to spend the time cleaning an airbrush. And I like painting here. I don't like having to go to the garage and because the airbrush makes sound and stuff like that. Right now everybody's asleep except this idiot right here that wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I don't want to wake up the other people up. So we'll see. I don't think that's a must-have type thing for me to have an airbrush. And besides, if I don't buy an airbrush and start working on a vehicle, I can quit at any time. It's not like, well, I got to get my money's worth out of this airbrush because, like I said, I'm not going to use it for figures. Now, I could probably doctor up some of our gaming table, our gaming mats, which I did do with a cheap airbrush that I was talked into, and I mean, it was really cheap. I mean, it was like $80, including the compressor. So, but it was so cheap. I'm like, well, I'm sure I can get some use out of this. And I did. I painted up our dozen or so gaming mats, and then it proceeded to, I'm not going to say die on me, but it wasn't working well at all. It didn't have a, it didn't, it's just a basic airbrusher with a bait, no tank or anything like that. So we'll see if I want to spend a couple $100 on that setup or just move forward. I have a feeling I probably will not get one. I don't enjoy the cleaning process, and I don't enjoy things when you use them one time, they work fine, and then the next time you go back to use them and you have all kinds of problems. And like maybe you have an hour to do some airbrushing, and then you spend 45 minutes fighting with it, and all of a sudden you're like rushed to try to complete your project. That kind of stuff just adds stress to me, and that's not what my hobby's about. This hobby is not about stress. This is about the opposite of that. So I experienced something with that with the cheap airbrush, and I was like, I'm not sure I want to get into those kind of issues. I mean, all I would be doing is doing that shadow level, the first one, and I can't remember what it's called, but hell, I can paint that. You know, it may not look the same, and it should be fine. I have confidence in myself. Good for refurbishing die-cast cars. Yeah, I did a couple of the die-cast cars, and I didn't use an airbrush, and I think they turned out fine. But they have the look I want them to have. It's not quick painting by brush, but that's okay. It's therapeutic. And even if you're doing something slow like this, look at me, I got it off on a tangent. I said I was going to finish the face and go back to this, and next thing you know, I'm painting the sleeves. Oh well, it's best not to make plans, right? It's all good. We'll finish up these sleeves and go back to doing the command stand, as promised. Okay. All right, dude, go take a nap. Back to here. Yeah, that's dry enough. All right, second color. Let's put this away. Wasn't that fun? Always stay moving forward. So what I was getting ready to say is, when you're using an airbrush and you're cleaning it, you're not making any forward progress. When you're painting by figures, at least the way I paint, I don't care how long, how slow I am. I'm always moving forward to the. It's kind of like the tortoise and the hare. I'd rather be the tortoise. You're always moving forward, ever forward. So That's what works best for me. That's what I enjoy the most. That's what I dislike the least. Okay. Yeah, it was a little airbrush and compressor from Harbor Freight. Somebody turned me on and said, "Hey, you should get this for." I got one for $80. I'm like, "You did?" And that's. I'm willing to roll the dice on $80. And I'd used an airbrush before. Uh, wow, almost 30 years ago. Holy shit! I realized just a couple of years. Nope, 30 years ago. Yeah, and it was. You had to fight with it a little bit, but I even went online and made this one guy called it Jesus juice, the stuff that you thin the paints down with to keep it from gumming up. So I got all kinds of stuff that I bought for that, and it helped a little bit, but it just got to the point where we were just kind of gummed up and wasn't a pleasant experience. All right, where did the brush go that I was dry brushing with? Was it this one? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It had to have been this one. No, not that it makes that much of a difference. All right, let's grab it. Who knows where I put it? Let's grab another one of these candidates. This one should work fine. Yep. All right. All right, let's grab this middle shade here. Grab this so I don't get it all over my fingers because there's no need to do that. This is about the only thing I dry brush on my figures. That and the chainmail some. Do you think using a cheap airbrush is good when just starting? I think it was good to use to find out if you have a use for it. I don't know if you've heard me mention this before. I'm not opposed to spending money on things. I just, I've been doing this hobby for, I'm gonna say 35 years. And the most frustrating thing is when you buy something and you spend money on it and you don't do anything with it. It's, the wife doesn't like that and I don't like it either. And I did not want to spend $500, $600, $700 on an airbrush setup and then find out I don't really use an airbrush. It's kind of like the same reason I held off on getting a computer. My computer died in 2012, and I waited 8 years to get another computer, because I had phones. Phones had gotten so far that have gone so far ahead that I didn't think I was going to get my money's worth out of a new computer. This is kind of the same thing. So even though I spent $80 on that airbrush, I think that I didn't go and spend a ton of money on it and then realize I wasn't using it for anything or got frustrated with it. So I'm hesitant of doing that. I don't mind spending money on something as long as I don't want it just sitting there. So it's discouraging when things like that happen. It's kind of like, as many of you guys know, getting a gym membership and frustrating. So So yeah, it's more that than anything else. The good thing about the airbrush thing is there's so many guides of people out there doing it, but The biggest problem with it is, I think, just kind of getting in the groove with it, not gumming up and stuff. And I made a mixture that this one guy recommended, but I think the airbrush is just too. It's just not a quality airbrush. It doesn't have a regulator on the compressor. It doesn't have a tank, so it's constantly running. You have to shut it down because it's overheating. The pressure it's at is too high because there's not really a setting to dumb it down. Just a lot of things that, I got to think about it before I go and spend several $100s on something that I'm going to be like, yeah, I just should have listened to myself. I should have just stuck to brush painting, because literally all I'm going to be using it for is, well, I'd probably do some more of the terrain mats. But honestly, the terrain mat that I've used, I did one of them that I hand painted, and that's the one that we use the most. That's the one that was the one that was, if you looked at that live video in the Napoleon battle, that's the one that we used. It's the one that I hand painted. Kind of looks like a jungle floor or whatever. Yeah, it took a long time to do hand painted, but it looks the best. So I don't think I'll ever be better with the airbrush than I am with a painting by things. So I know the more I talk about it, the less I'm likely to do it. You know. Oh well, I'm sure I'll make the right decision when the time comes. Okay, I think we're done with that. And let's go to Iraqi sand. You're afraid to use one. Yeah. I wasn't afraid to use one. I was just afraid to spend the kind of money on one and then not use one. We've all done that enough times with different things in our life that at some point it's like, no. Like I'm tempted to order something, like figures or something, and I'm like, I go through the whole process, put it in my cart or whatever, and then follow through. It's like I don't need more things. I mean, if I need something, yes, I'll pick it up. If I'm out of paint, I'll get it, but I'm just gonna buy things just because. You know, I don't care if a certain miniature manufacturer is running a 25% off sale. I don't need it. I'm not going to use it. I've been tempted to order some of those what is it, plastic soldier company, those vehicles that come damn near already built up, because who wants to sit around and do 32 road wheels? Not that we haven't done them before, and many times, and in 1/35th scale, but I'm just like, man, if I want to work on some vehicles, if I get the urge to do that, I got plenty of kits down there that I already have. It might not be exactly what I want to work on, but it'll scratch that itch, and I'll just do that. Now, what I don't have is I don't have any more weld cement, so I need to get my ass to Hobby Lobby and order some weld cement. Not order some, pick some up. Remember the old testers stuff that they used to have? Used that for many years. And then I got one that was made by Microscale, and I swear it smelled like oranges, almost like an orange cleaner. And I don't mean that it smelled bad or chemically, but it's actually smelled pretty good. Not that I was huffing it or anything, because never was one of those. I worked on models my whole life and never huffed model glue. I mean, if you want to get high, have a beer. But that stuff wasn't unpleasant to work with. So, I just thought it was funny that some master level tank guy was scared of doing figures. Yeah, specialization, you know? Afraid of the unknown. Okay. So we're going to do that. Let's go ahead and paint the edges. And let's see. Yeah, we do the edges before we put the grass on. Yeah. You don't want to clip a piece of, I think that's how I do it. It doesn't really matter a whole lot, but where is my El Cheapo black? See if I can find it. It should be over here, but it's not there. Where? Huh. I mean, I know where I can find another one. I just would like to use the one that's already open for the purpose of chaos management. Let's see. No, it's not there. Here it is. Hidden in plain sight. Okay, we don't want to put this big old, this is going to end up being a black turd. So we don't want to put it with the rest of this stuff. Oh, hello. You don't want to put it with the rest of the, on the wet palette. That's unnecessary. This is just cheap old folk art stuff, which I use for terrain and the edges of the stand. So I read somewhere that if you use this cheaper paint, it has more fillers than it does pigment. So the fillers are actually what makes it look more flat. So this is actually, you get a flatter finish with this than you would with using a higher quality paint. I just do it because if I got to repaint the edge, I'm not spending a lot of, I'm not using my good paint for that. Not that I've ever had to repaint an edge, but all right, this should do fine. And all I do to keep getting paint, or try to avoid getting paint on me, is just scoot this thing to the edge. And I don't want to get paint on me because it's, first of all, annoying. Second of all, it could be wet, and then I grab something else, and now I've got paint that I've put on something else I've painted. So it's kind of two reasons to do it. I'm not used to making a mess when I'm doing my figure painting. So anytime I got to do real painting, like around the house, got to paint a ceiling. There's no way you can paint a ceiling without making a mess. Not a big mess, but just little things, and it's just annoying from my standpoint. Of course, we'll have to wait a little bit till this is done. We put the little grasses and things like that on there. Okay. I'm gonna let this guy dry over here. All right, let's go back to this Hungarian archer. Okay, who are you? Tanks. I think the orange stuff, smelling stuff was non-hallucinogenic. Definitely non-hallucinogenic. It's also water-based. So the first thing is it's this same people that made microsol. I think it's called microscale. You know, the stuff that you put down on the models that it softens the decal, the water slide decal. I picked some of that up a long time ago when I worked at the hobby store. We're talking like early 90s, and I used it ever since. And I don't know what happened with it. I think it never, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it never came brush cap. So you just used a regular brush and applied it. And it was great because, you know, you could get a lot more precise with one of these than you can with that real cheap nylon thing that comes on the top of the tester's bottle. But it doesn't damage the brush or anything. And, you know, you could rinse it with water and yeah, it worked great. So, good morning, Ian. Only found airbrushing useful for big models. Some one or two camo schemes look good, but you need to go all in, which takes a lot of time and effort. Yeah, I just don't think that that's, you know, I'm not going to say I'm too old to do it. It's just not worth my time. Well, we're waiting for it to dry. I've got a couple of vehicles I've done, not with an airbrush. Of course, they were done a long time ago. I'm going to show you what you guys think. I think I know where they're at. I think they're in here. Yeah, there's a couple in here. Let's put these on top of the computer. Let's fold that down. So here's one that I did, I don't know, the 90s sometime. I don't think this one's weathered at all. Good old Panther G. Yep. That doesn't have the vision block here. Yeah, nothing fancy. I think I just kind of did the same method that I did, but I just kind of dry brushed it. No pin washing or anything like that. We would do that now. We would do the pin washing and stuff like that. But as I like to say, I did this pre-internet. Yes, there was an internet, but not like there is now, where you can share people's methods and stuff like that. This is an old, I want to say this is the Hasegawa kit. I could be wrong. Nope, I'm correct, because it says Hasegawa in there. Okay, so this is, you know, this is very basic by what I would do these days. It's certainly usable, but, you know, we can do better than that. They don't match, the figure quality. So, and if you watch my earlier video, this is what I used to do my figure stands, the basing in, and it looks like shit. Sorry, by today's standards. So, but this is what we had. We didn't know about this goop and things like that. So this was back when I used to use polyester paints, because this is even a polyester color that I used for the bottom green. You know, who would think, why would you make green, the dirt color green, unless you're playing on a putt-putt course, you know? But, you know, we didn't have the ways to share information with each other. So that's that's what I love about the internet. It's for the hobby. Not so good for a lot of other things, but hobby related stuff. What else do we have here? We have a, this might be a Fujimi kit. I don't know, but again, this is back when I used to dry brush, and I think this is a Fujimi. Look how we have to attach the track so that they don't. I actually have thread here so it can pull it down. I'm not interested in making any more vehicles where I have to do the road wheels. I can do it. It's just I'd rather spend my time painting them. Um, but anyways, this is very primitive by today's standards, so it's okay. I built it, never did anything with it. What else do we have over here? Trying to leave the better stuff for last, or the stuff I think is better for last. This is an old MMS kit. No, Millicast kit. This is one of the hardest vehicles to tell people. It's a Martyr 3, but it's a modified Czech 38 chassis with with the Russian 76 millimeter gun rebored with German service. They used a few in North Africa, and see, this is back when I used to seal these guys in semi-gloss. So if you see a little bit of a shine, that's that's not a surprise. This thing could be brought up a lot more. It's a little too dark. But I did some weathering there, and I don't know if you can tell on the tires. That's all we're done with brushes. That looks good enough for me. I don't want them to look super heavy caked. But then it has a little crew here. These guys are, I want to say these are Drew's militia figures, I want to say. And a couple guys right in here. So you can see they've got a little bit of a shine to them. That's what I did. I'm doing my little tester. I'm putting the the flat coat on these guys and seeing how much better they look. And I want to do some of the basing here in a modern. That's why I picked these three Brits that I have for that. I want to do them in a more modern style, kind of bring them up to date. Just something to do on the side. Not what I'm focusing on, but it's nice when I have to wait on drying time. It gives me something to do, and hey, something else to talk about. So that's the Panzer 3. What else do we have over here? So here's the first vehicle I did that took a long ass time to paint, and I did this probably about 20 years ago. This is a kit by Britannia. And it's a Sherman Firefly, of course. Well, not of course. Those of you who are World War II nuts would know. And this is a resin. And this is actually, I wanted to get the right color for this. You could tell, you still see some of the yellow here. So you've got white metal running gear. These are all one piece. And some white metal details like the 50 cal on there, which is bent. We'll leave it bent for now. The hatches are separate, but all this is resin. So yeah, we took a long time painting this. I remember at the time, but it's slow and steady. I think it turned out okay. I'd probably bring it up a little bit more. I didn't have decals, so we hand painted some markings there. Our 7th Armored Division, and their markings there. Yeah. Gotta like a gun with a long barrel. Gotta like a tank with a long barrel. So 17 pounder. That's a beautiful piece of ordnance. So anyhow, this is actually the no star. I'm vehemently opposed to British vehicles having American stars on them. I know they're Allied stars. I'm just completely opposed to it. It just doesn't look right in my book. The Brits deserve a little bit more respect than having to run around with American stuff on them. It just doesn't look right to me. I don't want to do it. So no, I don't do stars on British vehicles. So the most things I like is I don't mind the Normandy invasion stripes on both American and British aircraft. But further than that, I don't put white stars. Identification stuff is on British vehicles. I don't like how it looks. So Anyhow, this guy's that took a long time to do. And then I've got one vehicle. Something I never do is buy something painted from someone else, and I've never done it except once. And the reason I did it is because I liked what this was, and Me Too on Starfront, my U.S. have them, UK don't. Correct. Yep. That's how I would do it. So I saw this at a show. One of the vendors that used to come to our shows, his name is Tom Panetta, and he's a modeler, and he used to sell some of his stuff as well. He's the guy that does BP Cast. I'm not sure if he's still in business. I think he still sells on eBay some, but he's kind of, well, he hasn't come to our shows in about 20 years, back when we had shows. So I think he kind of stopped doing that. But he actually made this little vehicle, or he painted it up. And this is a Matchbox vehicle that he put different tires on and stuff like that. And it's a little French taxi. And the reason I picked this up is because I've got French partisans figures to paint up, and it's gotten dusty. I must have had it somewhere that it was had dust beforehand. But anyhow, I would have had to build this model. I mean, find the actual kit and then modify it. And I probably bought this around 2000, something like that. But I thought this was great. You'd have a little taxi that the partisans come in and then, come out of and start doing their secret mission or whatever they've got to do. So I've got some French partisans. I talked about this last week, but all of my figures, and I've got probably 40 or 50. Nah, I got more than 50 figures, maybe 60 figures of these all painted. Every one of them has a surname on them because I play really extreme skirmish type World War II stuff when I do. So they each have their own personality and stuff like that. They all have their surname on them. French partisans would have, if I painted them, they would all have their first name on them. So you could have Louise throwing a grenade, or Jean-Luc shooting a Sten gun or something like that. That would be my thing. But I've got probably a couple squads of partisans to do. All individually based, all individually looking different figures. So that's what I like to do. That's how picky and anal retentive I am about WW2. That's why I don't game World War II, because it would take forever. So, and then I got a couple other kits that I already made. This is the old Dragon kit. Well, not really a kit. It came already pre-done. It's an elephant. Well, let's see. Hold on. Is it an elephant? Ferdinand. No, it's an elephant. I believe this is from one of the Panzer Jaeger units at Kursk. And I don't know which one of the two, whether it was the 500 and somethings or the other 500 and something, but there was two Panzer Jaeger battalions in the. I'm going by memory. I haven't read this stuff in 25 years, but there was two of them that used them. They used them on the north end of at the Kursk salient in the advance modals group, and it was interesting because they did not have a machine gun on them. So if you notice, there's no whole machine gun on here. So you've got a 71 caliber 88 millimeter gun, which pretty much will penetrate everything at any distance during this time period. But it's got no way of defending against infantry. So one of the units carried MG42s that I read somewhere, I don't know where, but they actually, if they got too close, they had a way to shoot them through the actual 88 millimeter gun, which of course probably does wonders for the rifling on it. But they did that, and it's probably less than pleasant with all those casings rattling inside of here. But anyhow, and then another one of the units, and it may have been the same one, had these platforms the planks that they put back here, so a couple of Panzer Grenadiers could hang out with them and defend against any infantry that that would be coming to try to close assault this thing. But interesting stuff that I remember. I don't remember what the two detachments are. I want to say one's 653 and one's 654 or something like that. But there were two different ones that were on the north edge of her salient. Fought at Poniri. That was the big. That was a little turning point part there. That that was up there, and this is a pre-made thing. These things were back then probably running about $15. Now they're out of production, and who knows how much they're going for. But this is as I picked this thing up. I'm a big Kursk fan, so I figured I would do maybe a close assault thing with like a night engagement, like one of these is knocked out and they have to try to rescue it or whatever, something like that. Anyhow, I'm just rambling now. Just waiting for the edges to dry. Hope you guys don't mind. What else we got here? We got another kit. Who's this one by? Well, this is a Matchbox M4A376, and this is pretty. This is how it comes. This is already pre-done, like right out of the box. So these are 1/72 scale. So I think that they work a little bit better with the figures than the 1/76. Anyhow, this is all one. I don't know if the turret comes off or not. I bet you could probably. It's got screws on it, so you could take it apart and stuff like that. But this is stuff I picked up. I never did anything with them. I've had this for over 20 years. So this is, I guess, 4th Armored Division, depending on how the markings are on there. I don't know. I always thought that the Germans and the British have the best markings, without a doubt, for the tanks. The British ones are really cool, and of course the Germans as well. So that's why there's so many German kits. People, they just a variety of how they're painted and stuff like that in the camouflage. So anyhow, this is yeah, a Sherman, and I got some other Shermans. This is although this one seems to be pretty large in scale. Here's another one. This is came from, I forget who it is right now, but they have pre-made things, and this is with the mine rollers, which only reason you would use this would be like right out of Normandy, but I think you could just take them off and just use them for regular tank, I believe. Let's see. This came all pre-done like this. It's not. I believe I can take this off and just use it as a regular. What is it? A cast hull M4A1. That's what it looks like. Yeah. So, you don't need a lot of vehicles to do this scale that I'm doing in. So, just one or two on a side for, I think, 2, 3 squads or something like that would be about right. And I tend to like to use vehicles like the Martyr or half tracks where, they could be ruined, their day could be ruined by a grenade, So I don't remember what the name of this manufacturer is, but they used to have all these kits that would be pre-made, and a name escapes me. I haven't looked at this stuff in 25 years, so you know. Let's see. Oh boy, here we go. Did they ever do squad leader with miniatures? They kind of did, but this is a lot more. Yeah. I have the FAA Home Guard figure sculpted as characters from Dad's Army TV series. Excellent sculptures. Use the 88. That's not airbrush, camel, and elephant. Yeah, from the factory. From the factory in Japan. I'm pretty sure this came from Japan. Yeah. That's factory done. So that's factory done on the elephant. On the Ferdinand, I should say. Same thing, but different. Paul Carell mentions shooting the MG down the 88 bow. Okay. Okay. Forces of Valor. That's correct. Good morning, Jeffrey. That's correct. That's exactly who they are. They made a handful of different models. But anyhow, I didn't want to get bogged down with painting vehicles because this one Sherman Firefly took, I don't know, 24 hours worth of paint. I haven't even used it, so I'd rather spend 4 hours on a figure and have 6 figures in one vehicle. So, especially since it's a figure-based game. What else do we have here? We have, and I've got a lot more stuff than this. These are just things that I literally could throw this on the tabletop and play with it. I mean, it's reasonable. Whoop. We took it apart. This is another Matchbox kit. Matchbox diecast kit. I should say this is a diecast. This is a Panzer IV J. I was looking to see if it had the little. I believe this is what the way you can tell it apart. I'm an old 1/35th scale modeler, but I'm at a print. There's a little device back here that is the electrical turret traverse. So the J did not have that, if I remember correctly. So other than that, that's how you tell them apart. But this is a 4H, and I want to say this is 3rd Panzer Division, if I remember correctly, with a grizzly bear on it. But anyways, I took it apart. I don't know why, but it is all one piece. This is how it comes. Somebody at some factory decided to airbrush it like this. It's pretty fine detail, pretty to scale. You know, sometimes when you spray paint these things, yeah, this is a dinky. Oh, the factory in China, 1998 Mattel Matchbox. I hear they call it an HJ. Well, if it's got that little thing on it, it's not a J, dude. Not much I remember from my modeling days. So, gave up on doing scale models because you just build them and you don't do anything else with them. Here you get to make little boom sounds and move them around. You guys are wargamers, you get it. And some of my, since we're on a roll here, and this is already open, I used to have a ton of 2400 scale ships, but they were painted like crap by today's standards. So I only kept a few of them that I was working on when I kind of started doing this new painting style now. And this is one of them. This is a GHQ model, and this is using the same layering technique as now. This is there's actually two different blues. This is a measure 21 scheme for you guys that are rivet counters. Let's see if we can get a focus on. There we go. And it's actually not the same blue on the side and the top. It's two different ones. It's hard to tell, but anyhow, this is how I was doing my ships towards the end when I just said we're not playing with these anymore, and I got rid of them all. So, other than a few. So this is one of them. U.S. Destroyer Benham. Actually, before I was doing that, I was hand painting the names of them on the ships on the stands. And here's one. This is my attempt of making a mast on here because the actual model doesn't have the mast there. But 1/2400 scale. I had about 500 or 600 of these at one time. This is one of the first things I started wargaming with was naval stuff. I had a few World War I ships, but it was mostly World War II. I really liked the Mediterranean the most because you had the opportunity of having full fleet actions on full fleet actions and being somewhat realistic. We played a lot of what if stuff, like you would have several engagements that almost happened, and it would take the forces that were in this engagement and pretended that they crashed into each other and had at it. So this one happens to be a World War I British light cruiser, the Falmouth. Done with a layering technique, no washing. So, and here's an Italian ship, and I never got to the point where I was going to label it. Although I did put magnets on them, so it is magnetized, so I could carry it somewhere if I needed to. Hand painted little candy stripes, as we used to call them, on the front. And what else we got here? Here we've got, I did pick up a World War I set of 1/6000 scale. And for the Black Sea Fleet. So I've got, this is old Gobin. It ran the Black Sea and fought for the Turks. So I've got the Turkish Navy and the Russian Black Sea Navy. And this is the only ship I've painted. I think it turned out really well. If I got back to the naval wargaming, I would go into this scale. Because then you could have a game, the game scale would be more close to the miniature scale instead of being compressed so much. And this is the Hallmark 1/6000 scale ships. I don't like the little water things that they're done on. At the time when I did this, there still wasn't the internet presence that there is, so there wasn't really any examples of people painting them with the water. Since then, I've seen several people do it, and it looks okay. So, and some of their smaller ships, like some of their light cruisers, some of the smaller light cruisers, and all their destroyers and torpedo boats are all molded on the water. So that's kind of what I didn't like about it. But I would do this scale if that's what I was going to do. So I think it turned out really well considering what it is. But same little layering technique. Yeah, really satisfying when you're done painting it. And when you're playing a game, it's kind of in scale with with the size. The game scale is more in scale with the terrain scale. So the with the figure scale. Okay, let's see. Da-da-da-da-da. You like Greek galleys with the crashing. I never thought about doing ancient stuff. I didn't get into ancients and medievals until I started picking up this silly DVA game. So, all right, let's put this back, and then we'll go back to work on 15 millimeter ancient. So there's a little bit of entertainment off topic there. Oh, let's remember to put our toys back. A little bit of entertainment diversion for the day. So I've got some T-34s I'd probably build if I go back to building any of these models. I could see that in the future. We'll see what it brings. I got to get some model glue first before I do that. And the old Hobby Lobby's closed on Sunday, so that's not going to happen. But we'll see. We're not going to do that until this Hungarian project is done. I ended up doing all this and nothing to show for it. We don't want to leave things half done. That's just, I don't like to roll that way. Not more anyways. Okay. All right, so now the edges are done here. Let's grab us some, let's find us some shrubbery. One that's not too expensive. Let's see what we got here. All right, these are our usual suspects here. And the other usual suspect. All right. So we got one stand. Let's, oh, geez, we need to close this. Wet palette, we're drying out. All right, so we got our grass here, static grass. And we got let's get rid of this black paint before it ends up on something else. Until that dries out. All right, a shrubbery here. Let's, we may not end up using all this, but we'll grab two of these. Grab one of these. Oh, I did get it everywhere. Aha. Yeah, I set it down on it, and that's what's left of it. Dun, 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 dun. See, that's why That's why you use this little cardboard thing, or you'd get this black paint everywhere. Well, now we don't have to look at that black thing. All right, good. All right, we got one of those. And then I got a plane on me. Damn you. Okay. Anything else before? Yeah, I got some on here. Jeez Louise. All right. Screw you, black paint. You're going in the garbage can until you end up drying. All right. This should be all we need. Now, let's get our X-Acto blade here. And we're going to chop some of these up into smaller pieces. So these little ones stay how they are. This big one, this is a really big one. Let's cut this thing in half. And then let's cut this one in half again. All right. And then this thing's huge. So let's cut this thing in half. All right. Make sure we have no black paint at all on me. So we don't want to. And this was not black paint off the side of the stand. That was just on the little plastic cover that I had the other thing on. So I didn't put it far away from me when I did that. And of course now I'm looking to use that little Tupperware thing again. We'll just have to use something else. Ziploc bag will look fine. All right. Where's Mr. Elmer's glue? Or PVA, as you guys like to call it across the pond. First time I heard that mentioned, PVA glue. I'm like, what kind of specialized glue is that? Is that like some really like strong super glue? No, it's just white glue. Oh, okay. I know several people that use this for a lot of different things. I use it pretty much only for this process right now. I'm just gonna put some here. And let's grab a brush that we do not love. This will work. All right. And just put this in places that I use this to sometimes cover up things that I don't like how they look. It happens to everybody. Something doesn't turn out wonderful on the basing. When it dries out, it shrinks a little bit. And helps it kind of blend together. Coffee. Liquid motivation, as I like to call it. This is why you don't want to get paint on. You end up transferring onto the figure. That's a pain. I don't want to do anything that's going to make this take even longer than it already does. As you can see, it's already been an hour and a half. I'm not even done with the one stand, but we've talked about other things. We're kind of just chilling and fulfilling. I don't know what we're fulfilling, but got to be careful because I do not want any grass on the side of this stand. Okay, now let's grab our little container that we like to do this next process in. Let's get further away. And hopefully I do not pull this thing out of its mounting like I have done in the past. Okay, let's move the shrubbery off to the side. Okay. Put this guy here. There's back of a brush looks good to get this stuff in place. I don't want to use tweezers because tweezers are metallic and it could scrape up the side of the figures, which we don't need them to do that. Be a little bit more gentle with it. Try to shake as much off as we can in there. Let's see what we're looking like. Okay. Try to get as much of this in as we can, because we're still going to need to try to salvage as much of this as we can, because why not? It's stupid to be when it's just as easy to not be wasteful. Okay, that process is done. Let's get in here a little closer. Uh-oh, let's see what we got here. Isn't our PVA glue purple? Or is that PVC? I have no idea. You let it dry before you blow. Well, you can blow however you want. I blow different. I don't have time for it to dry. It can dry now. There's always ways to make my process take longer. I think it takes long enough as it is. Way too long. Okay. Now we're going to use this same stuff. And now we will grab Mr. Tweezers, wherever the hell they are these days. I've got several pairs. I can't see anything, and I'm trying to avoid putting my glasses back on. Here we go. I can't see anything unless it's 6 inches from my face, in which case I see it better than everybody else. All right. Right, the big shrubbery. Where are we going to put that? I don't need this anymore. Let's get over here. We're going to put, let's put a big one here. And normally, what I actually like to do is I like to do this process maybe 6 or 7 hours right after I've done the basing. So the basing, you could actually push into it a little bit, and you can actually push these things into the base, and actually looks like it becomes more of a part of the actual stand than it does when it's dry. But it's been a week, so that's not happening. Okay, so that's a big shrub, and we've got another one of these over here. Let's put another one there. Yeah, I'm used to my painting method of never having to wait between stuff because I use the paint so thin that waiting for things to dry is just not in my DNA. So anything I can do to avoid that, I'm a big fan of. Okay, let's put in another shrub. Well, let's do these little short grasses, find out where they're going to be because I want to get those two little guys on there. We'll put one over here in the corner. Okay. And then we'll put another little guy. Let's save that one spot for something bigger. Put him over here. Let's clear us off a little spot here. Okay. Now, got some of these other ones. Put one of these over here. And another one. Same between these two rocks there. And if it overhangs the side of the stand, it's not a big deal. Sometimes that actually looks better. There we go. That's probably good. I always end up cutting off more than what I need. And you might be a little bit of the white showing because of the glue. That'll dry out later on throughout the day. The lighting here is less than ideal for video for whatever reason. That's the stand. Now, we do have something else that we did. Let's put these grass things away. Make sure there's nothing wet around here. Put this guy back. Is paint dry? Good. Now we don't have to look at the damn thing. Let's put these paints back. Let's be diligent about that. Control the chaos. All right, what are we looking at? 10 to 8. Okay. So I went ahead and went online and printed up a set of flags that I found that someone had done. And I also made my own on another one. And I printed them up in a couple different sizes because I did not know how it was going to turn out. Where's my X-Acto knife here? But these got some Hungarian flags. Just disregard these. These are from my medieval, that's Robert the Bruce's flag that was still on that same thing. These are all an Excel spreadsheet that I print them on here. So these are laser printed on here. So we've got a couple different kinds. Obviously these larger ones you're not going to be able to see, but you know, this is actually a one that I went in the drawing program and actually doctored up. I should have given it a little bit more contrast because it kind of all blends here blue, but there's actually it's shaded quite a bit. It just didn't, it was kind of lost when I printed it out. But anyhow, I will just be going in, taking a flag that I found online and doctoring it up in a drawing program and then printing it out. So we're going to, I don't know if we're going to put the flags on, but at least we're going to figure out who's what. So this is the flag for the Black Army. And this is the personal flag of Matthias Hunyadi. So we're definitely going to put this on the command stand. We might even put one of these other ones on there as well, because we've got, you know, the tall banner bearer, and then the smaller one. So let's do a couple things. Let's cut this off so I'm not looking at this huge piece of paper. Come on. This is why I have this cardboard thing, so I don't want to cut on my cutting mat. Okay. And let's take this off so I can see what the hell I'm doing. I'll take this out of the equation. These turned out fine, but we've already done that army. See, that's just a drawing that I found online. Dropped it in my drawing program, and basically did graphically the same way. Those are already on my command stand for my Irish Army. They just happen to be in the same thing here, in the same file where I put these on. So, all right. So I think what we're going to do is, this is going to be the command banner. We're going to use, see how big we can go with this. This is a bit extreme, I would say. I would say we could probably use this one here, and then this one is the smaller one. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do these two. Okay, so let's cut them out. Just generally cut them out, and then we can come in and go a little smaller with them. Okay, there's one. And we don't want the small one. We want one that's a little larger here. Okay, that's what I'm thinking that we're doing. We'll put this one around here. And we'll put the other one around this guy's. That's at least what I'm thinking right now. All right. A couple things. Let's see. PVA or wood glue is white in the UK. Looks good. Hi, for what gaming do you collection? My English is bad. I'm from Belarus. This is DBA. This is for De Bellis Antiquitatis. And just so you guys can see where we're at in the whole process of things, I'll have to move these guys over here. I use this thing that I don't use very often. Let's move these guys to the back. Now we have a command stand. Here, this guy here. Okay, so this is the Hungarian army so far. And where's that little button? Of course it's up here where I can't see it. This is my unedited. There you go. And it probably won't look very good because it's just crummy 720 resolution, but you get an idea of all the what we've gone so far. So this is 10 stands in to a 12 stand army. By the time we're done, it's probably going to be 14 or 15 stands with all the options. But that's what we're working on right now is the commander. So let's take him off wherever he is here. Put these guys off to the side. We're not going to work on any other projects until these guys are completely done. So let's do a couple things here. And you want to use a sharp X-Acto knife for this. Didn't press down hard enough. Damn me. This X-Acto knife was new. This blade. Looks like it. I try to keep one only for using for paper and stuff like this. Okay, I'm gonna do the same with the other end. These swallowtail flags are always fun. Okay. And then what we're planning on doing is put the ends together. And what we're going to do is I have a temporary, let me see where I can find it. It's on a work. I have a temporary needle that I like to put these things on. It'd be a little different if it wasn't a swallowtail one. But with a swallowtail one, I'm going to have to cut these edges out. Well, I don't want to cut them until I know both pieces are together and glued, because otherwise it's a major pain in the ass. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up putting glue on both sides of this and then fold it. But I'm not going to push it all the way to the end. I'm going to leave it on here, and I'm not going to put any glue here. So I'm going to glue like all the way up to like this point, leave maybe the last 1/8 of an inch not glued. Okay. And then I'm going to let it, I'm going to try to shape it a little bit and then let it dry. And then after it's dry, I'll come in with the X-Acto knife and cut the swallowtail off, and then slide it on here, put a little bit of glue on here on the on the pole and then glue it the rest of the way. Because if you try and cut the swallowtail out now, you'll never match the ends together. It just won't. And I know that because that's the first way I did it a while ago. And it figured, oh, it would be the, it's obvious to go ahead and cut it out, but no, you'll never line things up. And the longer your swallowtail is, the more of that problem you're going to have. So let's do the same thing with his personal banner here. And after we have some coffee, of course. And I'm sure there's other ways to do this. Some people even use some foil in between the flags to get them to bend. And no, my idea of gluing foil in between using white glue just that doesn't sound like a good time for me. I don't have a lot of confidence in white glue to stay put where it needs to be. So let's uh, let's do something else, because I can see this is the one that is particularly challenging. So I have at least two X-Acto knives here. May even have a third. Well, I have other ones, I'm just not here. So this is one that's super blunt. So what we're gonna do is, this guy just got fired. And this one will now be the one I use for that. I'm gonna put a fresh blade in here, because we're gonna need precision for this. If there's anything you need precision for, it's this part right here. All right. As we were. Changed my mind what line I was cutting to. I'm gonna need to do this anyways. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut to the edge of the flag here, because I don't mind cutting the swallowtail when it's dry. I don't need to cut that edge also. So we'll clean that edge up a little bit here in a second. So we're gonna go across the top of the flag here. And this is just something you can find online. I don't remember where the hell I found it, but this is Matthias Hunyadi's personal banner. Or as it's sometimes called, Matthias Corvinus. Okay, this is the side that we needed to clean up. That we should clean up. We don't need to clean it up, but okay. Right now, this thing should be able to fold end to end. Get someone close. We're gonna run some black paint on the edge anyways when we're done. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to glue these two together, and we'll come back when it's dry and cut out the swallowtail portion. So we won't be doing that. Holy cow, that looks like a great army. Of course, that means the important rolls are going to be ones. Many a slapdash paint job will roll a 6. That's correct. Just because they look good. You know what? An army that looks good doesn't play better, but it still looks good. So I have played many games with really ugly looking armies that kick ass and are unstoppable, but I want to paint them. I'm a painter first, gamer second. At least in this, because I can, I can get my gaming thrill off of gaming other things. It doesn't have to be DA. All right, so let's go ahead and do this stressful process. It's not a big deal. Look, if I booger this up, then I I just print up another one. I'd like to do it right the first time because, why spend more time doing something? Now, I don't know where that, oh, here it is. It's right over here. Is this dried a little bit? Which is actually useful because we don't want this really wet. And let's grab us one of these flat brushes, which are almost useless for just about everything else. Yeah, we want this kind of flat. We don't need a whole lot on here. It's just putting paper on paper. So I can kind of see what the pattern is underneath. I'm just going to go, and I'm not too worried about making this look really furled up when I'm done. That's not a big selling point for me. We want to make sure that we do go all the way to the end here. I can kind of see the pattern underneath. Okay, and then hope to God it lines up correctly. What we've got to do is match the ends, or get close to matching the ends. Right? This part that's close here to the this part that's close here to the pole. Don't pull that out. Tell me. Okay. This part that's close to the pole has no glue on it. I'm going to come in at a later step and do that. And we're just going to crumple this up. Not a whole lot because then I have trouble cutting that part out. Just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. For me. Okay. And there you have it. We're going to let this dry, and then we'll come back and we'll cut that center swath out. All right. All right. Next one. If you do your flags differently, that's cool. Use what works for you. I'm just rambling here, so. Maybe I'll do something you go like, oh, that's pretty good. Or maybe you'll be like, well, now I know how not to do it. You got to use newer glue here now. See if we can get this almost all the way off. We want it tacky a little bit because otherwise it's too wet. And I guess it could go through and damage the paper. I didn't use any particular paper. This is just regular copy paper that they had at the place where I printed this out. So I know I can always spend even more time doing this, but I figure I spend enough time on this figure hobby already. I don't need to create more work for myself. But a laser printer works infinitely better than an inkjet. An inkjet is you just can't get the details out. sure it doesn't have to have any glue in the middle. It just needs to have glue on the edges that are touching. And make sure you got some on the ends. That'll unfurl. And it happens occasionally. I've got a couple flags that I've done a long time ago, and they're kind of coming undone. And it's just whatever it is, what it is. You just try to do the best you can, and things are going to get, as they age or they get older, things are going to, flags will fade and so forth. So it's not a huge deal. Try to get this as close together as I can. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect. I could curl it more, but then it becomes really difficult to cut that center out. So there you have it. So this is going to end up looking like this. And then this other one will be next to him here. And we'll paint the white section there. There's always a little bit of white section in between here. I think that the artist in this case actually ended up painting it black, but I'm at red. So we're gonna let these dry, and let's bend this over a little bit more. Especially this area over here that's not near the swallowtail can be bent more. Okay. Okay. Well, that's that. That'll be subject for another day. Maybe later this evening it'll be ready to go. It'll take a few hours. I'm gonna make sure we give it enough time to dry out for that. So, does Mitch buy good-looking armies? Mitch buys whatever he can get his hands on. There's not a whole lot of options for painting armies. That's why you'll see that the Hardbocks have a couple of armies that are very similar to each other. They have to buy whatever is available. So since they need neither one of the two paint, and not sure when we're going to be able to go to another convention again and be able to buy painted armies. So it's looking pretty. It's looking pretty grim when we'll be going to another convention. So with the current state of affairs, it's not work if you enjoy doing it. That's correct. That is correct. Good morning, Deutschland. All right. So, let's go ahead and go back to Hungarians that we have going on. It's not work if you enjoy doing it, correct. And if you enjoy doing it, you're probably not getting paid to do it. Many times. If you can do something you enjoy and you're getting paid to do it, then that's awesome. That's a win. Okay. So, hose-wise. This guy's green, this guy's red. We need a blue guy in here. We need a blue hoser. Let's see what we got here. Your station, Ettlingen. Never been out there, and again, it doesn't look like I'll be going anytime soon. This is just kind of like anybody's guess. We're in. We have no idea what's in store for us, so it's better not to make any plans. We're just going to keep this little thing we got going on. And I'll be honest with you guys. I would rather never go to another convention and have to give up videos and go to the convention. Now, given we do conventions, we'll still be doing both. But I'm just saying, I think this is more valuable than... Because I'll tell you what I hate about conventions, okay? We travel 14 hours to go to the big convention, and there's people that live within an hour and don't go because they come up with other excuses and stuff like that. Well, you're just doing excuses not to go. But if you live an hour from frickin' a major convention or less, and you don't go to it every year, year after year, you just, you really don't want to go. Meanwhile, the rest of us are traveling, 14 hours to get to one. So we'll put on games and put on a lot of games, and you still have trouble with a lot of people showing up. So I'm over it. It's okay if we don't go to conventions. I mean, I like hanging out with other folks, especially the last couple conventions. People have said, "Hey, they introduced themselves to me, and they've been watching our videos." So I really appreciated that. That was cool. I was kind of, I mean, not that I want to be famous or anything, but I appreciate people are enjoying what we're doing here. And but I'd rather do this that we're doing right now than putting on games at shows, because just some people at shows just don't show up. There's not that many people. I think the biggest game we've had at a DBA 3.0 convention in recent years, I would say, is probably 14 people. That's just not that many. So we can reach a lot more people doing this. So this is, I think better, more constructive, and I know some of you are, it's watching videos is kind of getting you guys through this tough time. So that helps too. I'd much rather be doing the videos than not. So, and it helps me get things accomplished as well. So it just took the magic. The magic was I needed to get 1,000 subscribers. I can't do this without 1,000 subscribers. So YouTube doesn't think I'm worthy of getting a live video out. So that's the secret right there. If you have less than 1,000 subscribers, you can make videos, but you can't do them live. So, which means you can't have interaction as it happens. That takes some of the oomph out of it. You love the comic book cons. Never been to one. Never been into comic books. Way back when, the big draw to go to conventions was to buy things. Now with the internet, I don't need that anymore. And I have so much stuff that I don't need that. I mean, unless I was going to pick up paint or something, stuff you don't want to pay shipping for. Okay. I think that's good enough for me. been using, yeah, the color. This khaki color from Cote d'Arms for his belts and such. Arizona and Ettlingen. Yes, that's quite different. I'm going to guess there's no red rocks in Ettlingen. Just a guess. I'm going to go on a refill of coffee. Be right back. So yeah, not making any promises what we're doing after these guys, because I don't want to eat my words. Never know. You have relatives in Karlsruhe and Baden-Baden, so I know that area. Only been to Scottsdale once. I've only been to Arizona one time. We touched down in Phoenix. I don't think we switched planes. We were on our way to Utah. And we flew from, I'm going to say Orlando. I think it was Orlando. It was Orlando or Tampa. It was Tampa. It was Tampa to Phoenix to Salt Lake. And we're going up to the mountains there, see some snow. And it was in March. I believe it was in March. And we touched down in Phoenix. And I remember they came on the intercom and said that it was dark. It was like 8 o'clock at night or something like that. It was 8 or 9. I don't think it was 9. It was probably like 8 o'clock, somewhere between something like that. And it was 88 degrees at night. I do not want to live there. That's way too hot. I can handle it being hot in the daytime. I can't handle hot evenings when the sun's not out. And I know it's not the same as 88 degrees here in Florida because there's no humidity, but that's just no. I like cool nights, and I know that that was just probably that day because there are extreme weathers there with the desert, extreme temperatures with where it gets cold at night and then hot in the daytime. So I was just like, wow, that's a hot one. But then you guys have a lot of height difference too. You got places in Arizona that are really cold when it's hot in the valley. So never been there. Haven't avoided it. Just haven't gotten a chance to go to Arizona. That's what we're going to have to stick to traveling for the next. Well, for the unforeseen future, we'll have to stay in places here in the U.S. because who knows when this situation is going to end. I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, but I'd rather I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than making plans that are unrealistic. Okay. Not the Brits close to us. Most of them are GP. Snowing in Flagstaff right now. Yeah, you guys have some extreme height and climate there, which I think is pretty cool, honestly. That's pretty cool to have those differences and not even leave your state. The other guy that I've actually met from Arizona, he actually showed up at one of our cons. He claims he drove straight through from California, might as well be California, from Arizona to Florida without stopping, well, without sleeping, which I don't know if they make enough drugs for me to be able to do that. But he's no longer in Arizona. He uh, he moved to Texas. He moved further west, but he keeps saying to let him. It was a pleasure to have, and but I don't know when that is. We may just have to do our own little DBA convention with limited amount of people and or a games day, and we'll let him know. See who wants to come for that. We're going to keep this thing we got going on for the foreseeable future. It's fun to do, folks. So the fact that some of you are watching our silliness is amusing. Kevin, you mentioned you were watching our Aliens game, so I'll tell you a little bit about a live video. If you don't catch it live, then after it's over, you can't watch it for a little bit because the video is being processed. So, and a lot of it depends on the length of the video. So if you're talking like a 3 hour video, sometimes it'll be like a half a day before you can actually watch it. So if you don't catch whatever we're doing live, then just wait probably till the next day and it'll be processed correctly and you'll be able to see it. Otherwise, I mean, I can't even watch it myself. It ends up being like all jagged and almost like the internet's not working properly. So that's just a function of the processing on YouTube. So, all right, now I think we added a little bit of brown when we did the actual scabbard. So let's just take some more of this. Let's take some of this core color. Pick a brown we already have here. Say this guy, there's plenty of it. And this color, we'll darken this up. Just to give it a little bit of a twist, something a little different. A lot of the Brits would have preferred to stay, but you go where they send you. Wargame conventions were kind of died when they left. I always say you can snow ski and water ski the same day and not leave the state. Yep. Take I-10, never gained in Germany, never came to Arizona. All right, let's do more of this base color. Of course, the base is this with some brown to make it look a little different. Just because. It's hard to get the game conventions going, especially because somebody's got to run it, and I am not the person for that. My time off is way too precious to be dealing with stuff like that. Okay. I think we're done with this for this guy. All right, we need to get our usual suspects here. I don't suspect these guys are still alive. Ooh, we could work with this. Oh yeah, we could work with this. We just need some of this bronze color. Paint up that in the end. And I believe we're doing some kind of a light gray with that. And while we have this color out, do the arrows as well. Okay, we got a paint here on this guy. We're gonna make this guy blondish-ish. Let's start with this brown here. Paint all his hair in that color. And I know I had this color earlier out here before I put it away. It's not, well, that'll work. This tan yellow will work. You don't need very much of that. Don't need very much of that at all. Keeps moving to Texas because Arizona is too close to California. Yeah, you guys are getting some spillover. Yep. Let's add more of this color here. We know some folks that moved to California from here, and they were there about 6 months and they couldn't take any more and moved back. Moved over there for a job and they just couldn't deal with all this stuff. I haven't done it. I could tell you I can't deal with all this stuff. So okay. Now let's do a hat. Now I think we didn't come up with any kind of answers on this guy's hat. Okay, Kevin, have a good napper. Hopefully you haven't been up all night. It's almost 6 out there, I think. We'll catch you next time. We need to do a little bit of reconnaissance here. Let's see if we can find some pictures of these guys being painted up. necessarily because I'm going to go with that, but it kind of gives you some inspiration here. So I believe these guys are actually considered Bosnian archers. Let's see if we find some. I believe that's what these guys are considered. Let's see if we come up with any kind of inspiration, because they got a hat. They have a hat. It's like a fur hat, and oh, Kurasan has some guys on here. Let's see what the guy who painted him for Kurasan went with. And I heard some of you guys are having issues with, if you're in the UK, getting Kurasan miniatures. Let's go all the way to the bottom here. Hungarians, light cavalry, infantry, archers, 3 poses. Okay, so according to this, okay, I was thinking I was going to do a bronze emblem there on the hat. I think I'll do that, and I'll go with the white feather as well. That seems right, because a lot of my Hungarian guys have white feathers anyways, so that seems to be okay. I'll show you guys from Coruscant Miniatures page. So I don't necessarily go with anything to see, but it does give you at least another viewpoint. You can see some examples of it painted in a certain way, and might help you make a decision. So, all right, fur, huh? All right, let's go with let's start off with something like this. Let's start off with a color like this on here. Lighten up if we need to. And then we will just lighten this up some more. That way it's not the same light gray color as the other hats. Okay, let's get the emblem. We still have some of that bronze that we're working on. Okay, and then we're going to do a white feather. That's done, and we're going to do the little rim of his hat in a different color. We're going to do that. Let's just do that with the gray. And just a tiny little bit. Okay. See what it's looking like so far. You gotta do some shoes, and I think we can move on to the next guy then. Not too bad. Okay. I'm gonna take some of this and mix it with this. And do some lighter color shoes on this guy. Mix it up a little bit. And once this guy's done, that's half the archers. Okay, and this guy's done. Hungarian archer number 3. When finished, who are they going to fight first? I don't know. I don't know. But the Turks, medieval Germans, who else do we have that they're enemies of them? I have both of those armies. So probably dumb them down and then fight the Turks, and then spice them up and then fight the medieval Germans. So that's why I need to probably do another stand. When I do these two fast bows, I also need to do a couple of Saloy, because I'll probably run them with Saloy against the Turks. We need to dumb them down definitely for the Turks. So otherwise it's going to be a cakewalk. So definitely that's going to be the case for that. So yeah. Okay. Right. Where'd the remaining guys go? Here they are. So we want to use the same pose. And that's this guy that was incorrigible and couldn't get glued down to a stand. So here he is by himself. That's what we're going to do next. All right. We used the darker colored leather on him, so the other one will be the lighter colored leather. I believe it was this color that was over here. Let's see if it's still usable. We're going to need to put more of it down. Yeah, it done dried up. How are we doing on the Hungarian flag? They dry? They're pretty dry. Let's cut these things up and see how they turn out. Hopefully I don't botch this up. Okay, let's do this one first. Now, I'm going to hedge all my bets. We're going to cut it not all the way to it, because if they don't line up perfectly, we're going to have a problem. Let's just go a little shy. Looks okay on that side. Looks okay on that side. All right, let's keep cutting. I'm going to have to unfold this a little bit. See how we did. I think that turned out pretty well. We're going to run black around the edge after it's already mounted. We can get a little closer to this now. Let's not press our luck and go any further. Just take this little, there's a little tuft here. Take that out. Do the same with that. There we go. All right. We're going to end up gluing that in place, but let's do the same here. This is going to be trickier, I think. Yeah. Yes, it is. It's not exactly even on this one, but it should be fine. Okay. And we'll paint the edges of this one as well. This one will go like so. Let's see what we're looking at here. Obviously it'll be glued in place. And we'll paint this edge of this white. We'll paint something else very lightly. So this is what we're looking like. So what do we do now? We'll get in with a small brush and some white glue. Let's do this one first. Let's open this up a little bit. And you want to put it in the bottom. And the reason for that is because when you slide it down, it's going to push the glue up. We're going to put a little bit up here just to make sure that there's some on here, but okay. We're going to take this and we're going to push it in the end. Okay. And do the same thing here. Let's see if we can open this up some. There we go. Now we can finish doing the gluing surface. And specifically put some here towards the bottom. Well, I guess my ringer's on. That's why I do not have my ringer on my phone. So let's see if I can get away with doing that. I'm not sure if that will do the trick. Well, let's see if we get disconnected or not. Okay, I don't know what you guys saw, but hopefully we can get back to this. I'm gonna have to cut out here soon. But I wanted to finish this. I wanted to finish this today. It's gonna take some time to dry. Okay, and we're gonna have to let this dry before we put the black paint on there. Let's make sure we rinse that well, because we don't want this. We used a very good brush for this, but I didn't want to skip this process. Okay, there you have it. There is the command stand. Of course, we'll have to do a little black on the edges there of the Hungarian army with the other folks on here. And there you have it. So still plugging away. Got him done now. And just a little bit of black on the edges there should do that. When I do put that black down, you got to make sure it's not very watery, or the capillary action will screw you something fierce. So you need to go really, really thin on that. Okay. Okay, well, I think we're going to have to cut out now. We got people waking up and texted me, so we will get to the non-painting portion of my day. But thanks for joining me, and we'll pick up where we left off next time. And enjoy your Sunday. Bye, folks.